Have you ever wondered how web applications remember your actions from page to page, even when you navigate away and come back? This is all thanks to session tracking. Session tracking, or session management, is a crucial feature of web applications. It's like a digital memory that allows the web application to recall your actions across multiple requests. It's what keeps your items in an online shopping cart, or your personal settings on a social media site, even if you refresh the page or return after a break. This is achieved by maintaining a session, or a series of related interactions, between the client and the server. In the vast universe of programming languages, one popular choice for implementing session tracking is Java, specifically using servlets. Whether you're an experienced web developer or just a tech enthusiast, understanding session tracking is vital in today's digital landscape. So let's dive into the technical details and explore how this process works. One of the most common ways to implement session tracking in Java is using HttpSession, an interface that provides a way to identify a user across multiple page requests. Let's dive into how this works. To create a session, you start by getting the HttpSession object from the request. You can think of this object as a virtual meeting room where you and your user can interact without interruptions. Once you have your HttpSession object, you can start setting session attributes. These attributes are like sticky notes in your meeting room, holding on to information that you'll need throughout the session. Here's a simple example. Let's say you want to remember your user's username. You can set it as an attribute like this: HttpSession session =request.getSession session set attribute username John_Doe. Now, this username is stored in the session and can be retrieved whenever you need it. To fetch this attribute, you again get the HttpSession object from the request and then retrieve the attribute like so: HttpSession session =request.getSession string username =string session get attribute username. This way, even if the user navigates to different pages of your application, their username is still accessible, creating a continuous, personalized experience. But what happens when the session ends? For that, we have a method to invalidate the session. It's like closing the meeting room and removing all the sticky notes. Here's how you do it. Session invalidate. With this command, the session is invalidated, and all the data stored in it is discarded. It's a clean, efficient way to manage your resources. So there you have it. HttpSession offers a simple and efficient way to track a user's session in your servlet-based web application. It allows you to keep the user's data handy across multiple page requests, providing a seamless, personalized experience for your user. As you can see, HttpSession provides a straightforward way to manage sessions in your web applications. Another way to track sessions is by using cookies, small pieces of data stored on the client side. Cookies can hold a unique session identifier, also known as a session ID. Now you might be wondering, how do we create and retrieve a session ID cookie? Well, let's dive in. First, we generate a unique session ID. In Java, we can use the UUID class to generate a random ID. Then we create a cookie with this session ID and set the cookie's expiration time. After that, we add the cookie to the response that is sent back to the client. This way, the client's browser will store the cookie, and with it, the session ID. But what happens when we need to retrieve the session ID? When the client sends a request, it includes all stored cookies. We can then loop through these cookies and find the one that holds the session ID. Once we have the session ID, we can process it according to our application's needs. Now you might be thinking, how do we associate this session ID with an HttpSession object? Well, we get the HttpSession object from the request, and if it doesn't exist yet, we create a new one. Then we set the session attributes such as the username using the session ID. So why should we use cookies for session tracking? One major benefit is that cookies allow us to maintain session information even if the user closes the browser or restarts their computer. This offers a seamless user experience, as the user doesn't need to log in again when they return to our website. However, it's important to remember that cookies should be used judiciously. They should only store essential data and should always be transmitted over secure connections to prevent data breaches. By using cookies, you can maintain session information even when the user closes the browser or restarts their computer. It's a neat way to enhance your web application's user experience, isn't it? Now that we've covered the basics of session tracking, let's discuss some best practices to ensure your implementation is secure and efficient. As we delve into the world of session tracking, it's essential that we focus on security. Session IDs, the keys to our kingdom, must be generated securely. Consider utilizing a strong, unpredictable random number generator to create these unique identifiers. Equally important is the transmission of these IDs. Always send them over HTTPS, a secure protocol, to prevent session hijacking. Now, let's discuss expiration times. It's crucial to set appropriate expiration times for sessions and cookies. The duration should be a balance, not too short to inconvenience users, but not too long to pose a security risk. Sessions that last the duration of a user's browsing session are a common practice. For cookies, it depends on their purpose. Remember, the longer the expiration time, the longer the period of vulnerability. Next up, we have data management. It's tempting to store all sorts of data in session attributes, but resist this urge. Only essential data should find its home here. Why, you ask? Well, this practice minimizes memory usage. Remember, every bit of data stored in a session is a bit of server memory used. Lastly, don't forget about cleanup. It's important to invalidate sessions when they are no longer needed. This act frees up resources and keeps your application running smoothly. Think of it as a regular housekeeping chore for your web application. Implementing session tracking is like walking a tightrope. On one side, you have the user experience, and on the other, you have security considerations. The key is to find a balance. Whether you choose HTTP session or cookies for session tracking, always keep these best practices in mind. By following these best practices, you can ensure your session tracking implementation is both secure and efficient. So there you have it, a brief but comprehensive guide to implementing session tracking in web applications using servlets in Java. We've delved into the mechanics of using HttpSession, revealing how to create, retrieve, and invalidate sessions. We also explored the alternative approach of using cookies for session tracking, generating unique session IDs and associating them with HTTP session objects. Moreover, we highlighted some crucial best practices to keep in mind. Remember to fortify your session IDs and transmit them securely over HTTPS, manage your session and cookie expiration times appropriately, and keep your sessions lean by storing only essential data. Don't forget to clean up after yourself by invalidating sessions when they're no longer needed. With these tools in hand, you're now ready to implement session tracking in your own web applications. Remember, it's all about creating a seamless and personalized user experience. Happy coding!